Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for clicking on the video. Today we want to talk about context, but first and foremost, I want to apologize to other YouTubers. There's going to be some very obvious shades at certain people being thrown, and I want to make clear that it is nothing personal. It is simply about information, which, your YouTube channel is about information, right? And the other thing is, when there is competition between YouTubers, the only ones that are winning are the viewers. So I would appreciate if any of the other YouTubers are seeing this or hearing of this, I would like them to take it as such and not take it personal. So context is, when it comes to information in Rise of Kingdoms, is by far the most important factor. The statement itself is definitely not as important as putting on context to it, because otherwise the information will be misinformation and lead you to bad decisions. I want to make a quick example. Let's say you are watching TV and there is a car commercial. How do you decide on if you are going to buy this car or not? Well, you are thinking for yourself, do I need a car right now? Do I want a car? Can I afford this car? Do I like the car? Do I like the design? Do I like the manufacturer? Maybe it's too big. Maybe it's too small because you have kids, and so on and so forth. You are putting context on the advertisement telling you, hey, buy this car. And then you make a decision. Instinctively, you know what questions to ask. However, in Rise of Kingdoms, and this goes, by the way, for every other YouTuber, 90% of your viewership don't know what questions to ask when they hear your information. They don't know what context to put on it, which for a good portion of it is your fault, is the YouTuber's fault. Because instead of just saying, hey, this is the best commander, no, the YouTuber is saying you must have this commander, you must expertise him, you have to, right? Because like you need it on your thumbnails that you are paying $5 for on Fiverr, because you need that viewership, you need that clickbait, right? Now, what happens is people who don't know how to apply context are coming onto your video and you tell them you have to do this. And they are doing this, but they are absolutely not in the position to make that choice or take that action. And I want to use very real examples. Scipio came out about a year ago, maybe. And I was in an Imperium kingdom back then with a very well-known alliance, and Scipio came out and a video from a YouTuber came out, and all of a sudden everybody was like, oh my god, I have to get Scipio, I have to spin this wheel and I have to put him behind Guan Yu. And like I said in my last video, I like to challenge people on their opinions and beliefs, because usually they are very unsubstantiated, and it's not about being right or being wrong. No, it is simply about the exchange of information. This is how you learn, right? And so I'm challenging them, and it turns out there is an officer who is responsible for commander questions. And again, this is in an Imperium kingdom in a fairly well-known or even very well-known alliance. And this officer told everybody they have to get Guan, and it's they have to get Scipio, and it's the best, strongest march. They have to put him behind Guan Yu. And of course, just a couple minutes prior, he watched this YouTube video where the YouTuber was like, oh my god, my head is blowing up, this commander is insane, and you have to get this, you have to expertise it, and yada yada yada. So, okay, like I said, I'm challenging it. So openly in the Alliance chat, I'm telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because what happens is people are replacing Scipio and Leonidas behind Guan Yu, right? But they don't have every commander in the game. They don't have equipment for 5, 6, 7 marches. They don't have all that stuff. So they are actively losing value by replacing Leonidas. While Scipio, obviously, if you just add Scipio to like a void, to nothing, you have the full value of Scipio, but now you are replacing a commander, which means you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Like, is the increase, is the power increase for this march really worth 690 sculptures? And for 90% of the players, it's definitely not. Because now what happens is you are losing Leonidas, which you have spent hundreds of sculptures into, and you're replacing it with Scipio, working on him for 2 months, 3 months, maybe even 4 months, and now you are losing out on potential future other commanders for Scipio, who has a diminished value because he's just replacing a already very much relevant commander. And people didn't understand that. They just heard, hey, this is the best commander, slam dunk, strongest, wow, oh my god, my head is blowing up. So they went for it. And it's, for most people, a bad decision. Now, I want to make clear, for some people it's very obvious which YouTuber I'm talking about, and I want to make clear, at the very least, this YouTuber then later made a video clearing this up, which I was very appreciative about. Another example would be up until maybe a year or maybe a year and a half ago, it was the consensus: you are using your strongest march, you put it on the battlefield, and you duke it out against your opponents because of efficiency. And yes, this is definitely 100% the most efficient thing to do. There is no argument about this. However, as you become stronger with your account and you have marches that are equally as strong, you can use more marches. However, I mean, put attention to what I just said, because this creates a problem. Once again, 90% or maybe even more, who knows, of the viewership on YouTube doesn't have many marches on the same power level. We are talking about the commanders themselves, we are talking about the pairing, we are talking about the equipment, and now we are talking about the ornaments, right? They are not equally as strong. So what now happens is the efficiency is diminished once again, just like with the value of Scipio, because you are putting marches on the battlefield that, let's say, as a measurement, a skill cycle, they are dealing not as much damage per skill cycle. So now you have more marches, and some of them deal less damage but get the same amount, if not more, because they have less equipment, they are less optimized. Now you get more counterattack damage. As soon as an opponent attacks one of those marches, you get more, you concede more damage than you usually would just with your strongest march or your 2 strongest marches. But the biggest problem is, now you have more marches and they are wrapping around the opponent further, which makes your marches susceptible to being focused down because they are wrapping into opponent murder balls. And now you have weak marches or not very optimized marches wrapping into the opponent's murder ball, and they are being focused down in 5 seconds. Now I want to make this clear. once again, this YouTuber made a video where he was like, there is efficiency in numbers, you should just use as many mortars as possible, throw everything but the kitchen sink at the opponent, and that is wrong information. That is misinformation or misleading information, because 90% of your viewership, or the vast majority of your viewership, doesn't have the luxury of being a whale who has at the very least, 5 mortars who are equally as strong with all the equipment, with the pairings, with the ornaments and stuff like that. They don't have that. So now what happens, they are going to use mortars that are either bad or at the very best makeshift solutions, and they are being killed in 5 seconds. And now they are asking themselves, hey, why am I using 10 billion resources for 5 million kills? There might be a little bit of exaggeration, but it goes into that direction, because I just a couple days ago had somebody who was like, hey, how come I think this person used 2 billion resources for 1.5 million kills? It is because this person is using extremely bad mortars, just because he is very desperate to use 5 mortars because he was told so by YouTube videos. So you see, context is extremely important. You always have to consider, hey, the information that I'm given, even though it says you have to, you must, is it really relevant to you? Is this applicable to my situation, my account? Am I really fit to do this? And people don't know what questions to ask, which is why I'm also talking about YouTubers. It is their responsibility to be careful with the information they relay. They have to put into consideration. They might be talking to somebody who is at 50 million power, but is in a fairly strong kingdom. And now this 50 million power player is using 5 mortars because we told them to do so. And that is wrong. So yeah, context is, when it comes to information in Rise of Kingdoms, the single most important factor. And I would like YouTubers to be a little more considerate towards their viewership. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching.